If there's one point of criticism that a lot of people have about the football boot industry right now, it's that there is somewhat of a lack of variety. Too many sock boots, essentially. And while the boots I have in this box are effectively sock boots to a point, they do have one element about them that really separates them from every other boot you can buy right now. And that boot that I'm talking about is the Adidas Predator 20.1, specifically the low-cut variation that I have here in the brand new Uniforia Pack colorway, which was supposed to be for Euro 2020 as well as the 2020 Copa America, but obviously that's not the case anymore. Still the Uniforia Pack, just not being worn in any major tournaments. A lot of you guys like to ask what my personal favorite football boot is, and often I don't really have a personal favorite, but since the release of the Pred 20.1 Low, it's been just that, my favorite football boot. There is some recent competition. Check out my last couple videos and I'm sure it'll be pretty clear which boot I'm talking about, and there'll be more on that in a later video. But for right now, I think it's safe to say that this is my personal favorite for a number of different reasons, mainly due to the fact though that it's just so unique to play in. The performance characteristics, the way that this boot feels on the ball is unlike anything else you can buy, and that's what I want to focus on in today's video. So if you want to learn more about these, please stick around and watch the entire review. We're going to take a closer look at the colorway as well as how they fit and feel on feet. And of course, if you're interested in a pair for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below the normal $225 retail price. Also, if you guys do end up enjoying this video, please don't forget to support it with a like. It helps me out a lot. And if you are new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Before we get into the technical stuff, I just want to quickly run you through the colorway. This was, of course, part of the Uniforia Pack, which is the same name of what was supposed to be the match ball for Euro 2020. It'll actually be interesting to see if they come up with a new match ball for Euro 2021, because it has been pushed to next summer. Either way, just like the ball, which had this kind of gray paint stroke effect, this also has the paint strokes on the upper, but obviously in much more vibrant colors. So they've gone for a white base, which is not particularly unique for a tournament pack pair of football boots, but because of the very vibrant colors that they've gone for, where it's like a combination of like neon highlighter yellow, similar to Volt Yellow from Nike, I guess is the best comparison to make, as well as this kind of bright reddish orange. It's a little bit more orange than red, I would say, but the two colors actually work really nicely together and contrast very well against the white background, where I would say that these are a lot flashier in person than I was honestly expecting. All of the rubber demon skin spikes, as you can see, are in that same kind of bright orange color. The stripes in black underneath the demon skin spikes, I think look quite cool and really pop against the background colors that you have there. The only downside of this color is the exposed knit here across the top of the foot being white in color. That's going to stain and get dirty very easily, which just makes it kind of noticeable once the boots have been worn a little bit, and it just takes away from the clean look, but it's something you have to deal with most white boots. And then the sole plate, as you can see, it does have the split sole design. You get some of that color kind of peeking through little elements of it, but the stud plates themselves are white in color, a non-wearable finish. It's just white plastic. And then the stud tips that are translucent, you can see have a little bit of that orange peeking through. All in all, it's a really clean looking colorway. Again, flashier than I was expecting, but as a whole, even though it's not the most unique thing in the world, I think they look really good. Now, as for the performance side of things, obviously I just said the Predator 20.1 Low is my personal favorite boot at the moment, and that remains true for the time being. But upon further, I guess, reflection of what this boot is and how it compares to other options on the market, while I think it's distinctively different, and that's something that I really like about it, that distinctive difference is down to one single element, that element being the rubber demon skin spikes that you have scattered across the upper. There are more spikes on the 20 plus variation, but I don't find there to be a terribly huge difference between the two. The thing that is definitely noticeable though is that as soon as you make contact with the ball, these rubber grips provide a significant amount of extra grip on the ball, which does admittedly take a little bit of getting used to. And it is kind of one of those love it or hate it type situations. If you're somebody that prefers a slicker upper in terms of how the ball interacts with the surface of the upper on your football boots, then the extra grip provided by the Predator 20.1, the 20 Plus, or even the 20.2 is probably something that you aren't going to like very much. But demon skin aside, while I think the base of the Predator 20.1 is solid, if you compare it to other knitted upper football boots out there, it's fairly unextraordinary. And I know what some of you guys are thinking, I'm just being negative again for the sake of being negative, and that's not actually true. What I really like to do with reviews of products, once they're no longer the latest and greatest thing, where the Pred 20.1 Low has been out for a little bit, and while it is my personal favorite boot, I'm always curious to hear feedback from you guys once you've had the opportunity to try these out. And while I think there's a lot of people that have listened to what I've said about these boots and really enjoyed them based on those opinions, I have heard some people, and it doesn't seem to be the majority, that have purchased these boots, and while they like the extra grip, that aspect of what I've told you about is totally accurate. There have been people that have said that it's not as comfortable as I was expecting. I don't love the feel of the upper. It doesn't really feel like a pair of sock boots, which is more or less how it's been advertised. And to a certain extent, it kind of looks like it would feel like a pair of socks, but that's not exactly the case. And that's kind of the perspective that I want to talk about this boot from in this particular video, where you have this mesh-based synthetic upper. It's technically not prime knit like the 20 Plus variation, but the 20 Plus upper feels pretty well the same. What they've done here is they've used the textile, in this case a very thin mesh, as your base layer for the synthetic. You have a polyurethane top layer on the surface, demon skin layer on top of that, which is basically all of your spikes, and then internally it's reinforced with a synthetic suede. So in terms of softness and padding, there really isn't any. This is more, I guess, closely compared to a thin synthetic upper than it would be a padded knitted upper, which I think is what a lot of people have this idea that it's going to feel like in their head prior to making a purchase. So while the upper doesn't feel stiff or rigid by any means, if you compare this to a knitted upper or a mesh-based upper, for example, on the X19.1, this is going to feel a lot more firm and a lot less soft, and arguably a lot less flexible as well, especially through the midfoot given the shape that they've gone for. So if softness is a priority for you, this doesn't really have that sensation, which is something that some people really like to have in a pair of football boots, including myself. But because of the additional grip provided by these demon skin elements, which I particularly like personally when it comes to striking the ball, I can deal with that. For me, that's the highlight of this boot, and as long as everything else about the boot isn't uncomfortable or, I guess, bad in any way, which I don't think it is, I can live with some of the shortcomings of what is a pretty basic upper, considering that this is a top-end product that retails for over $200. Now, of course, it does have a one-piece construction with a central lacing system that does a really good job of holding your foot in place and giving you a pretty responsive feel. Obviously, with the low-cut variation, it just has a low-cut design, which is a little bit more simple. If you prefer the whole collar thing, they make a mid-cut variation as well. No real difference in terms of feel or performance, not even a difference in price. And then internally, you're going to find a synthetic suede heel liner, plenty of extra padding, like the way that it's shaped. It feels really good. And then the insole, that's fully removable as well. Just to give you guys a quick look at it, it features a soft kind of synthetic suede lining on the surface, and it's made from a single layer of black foam, pretty much the standard insole we're used to seeing in top-end Adidas boots. And then as for the sole plate and stud pattern, it is their split sole control frame, which does feature an external heel counter as well, something that I'm a big fan of, and I just like the spiky design. No real benefit there, just looks cool. But the sole plate itself is nice and flexible, which is kind of my preference when it comes to most football boots. It feels nice and solid through the midfoot and heel area, which is exactly what you want. And as far as the stud pattern is concerned, while it's a slight improvement over what they were previously doing with the Preds, in that the studs are a little bit narrower in profile, so it just digs into the ground better, providing slightly more aggressive traction. It's kind of the same stud pattern we're used to seeing from the Adi brand at this point, basically for the last 10 years. So if you've worn an Adidas boot with this layout, this is going to feel very familiar. Again, it's not bad, it's just kind of unextraordinary. And then when it comes to weight, again, the Pred is pretty average in this category. In a size 9.5 US, you'll find that the Pred 20.1 Low weighs in at 8.2 ounces, the equivalent of 233 grams, which is above average for a top-end football boot in almost any category these days. Almost everything falls under the 7-ounce range except for the Predator line, whether you go for the 20.1 low, the mid, or the 20 plus. In fact, those two variations I just mentioned actually weigh a little bit more. Either way, while it's not a heavy pair of football boots, they definitely could have been lighter. So as you can see, I've swapped out the stock white laces, which admittedly look clean if you're going for the clean look. Unfortunately, keeping them clean will be next to impossible. I've swapped them for some black reflective SR4U replacement laces, where in a colorway that's all about accent colors against a white base, when you add the black laces, it really makes the stripes pop. And honestly, I just think it looks very cool. It's a great way of changing up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way. If you're interested in some for yourself, the website to visit is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, I quite like the feel of the Pred 20.1 low. The upper has a nice structured sensation to it, so the boots as a whole feel nice and solid on feet. But again, I think the one thing that will surprise a lot of people about this is despite looking like literally sock boots, they don't really have that sock-like sensation. The upper, like I said, is very thin, a little bit more structured, and the end result is an upper that feels more like a thin synthetic than an actual knitted upper, which may or may not be what you're looking for, so something to keep in mind. The shape of the boot is also somewhat controversial in that they did revert back to kind of like the older style of Predator in terms of the last, where it's a little bit pinched and narrower through the midfoot and then wider through the toe box and forefoot area. I think there's an argument to be made that the boot probably would have fit better if they maintained the old last of the Predator 18 and 19 that this model replaced. But if you do have slightly wider feet through the toe box and forefoot area, you're going to appreciate that little bit of extra width. For me personally, they don't fit me perfect. There's definitely some extra volume in the toe box and some extra width in the forefoot that I could do without, but it's not detrimental to the fit or shape of the boot. And for me personally as well, a little bit of extra width through the midfoot, being that I'm slightly flat-footed, would have been nice as well. But as a whole, the boots aren't uncomfortable. It just takes a little bit of time for my feet to get used to them. So some minor foot cramping, mainly through the midfoot, isn't necessarily uncommon during the break-in process. But otherwise, the boots fit and feel really good. If you have super wide feet, mainly through the midfoot, probably not the best option for you, but in general, I think they will fit most people. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So I guess to conclude this video, while the Predator 20.1 low remains my personal favorite football boot because of the very distinctive added grip provided by these demon skin spikes, everything else about the boot is relatively unextraordinary. It's one single element that's bringing up the overall average quite significantly for me. And really what I've been thinking about is if they swapped out the upper for something else. We saw the leather upper on the Predator 20 Plus, the limited edition one that came in an egg. If we could get a leather upper on a Pred 20.1 low, that would be very, very special, and it would change my entire perspective of what I talked about in this video. But it kind of got me thinking, if you took the X19.1, everything about it, and just added the rubber demon skin spikes, I think that you would have a better variation of the Predator 20.1 low. So as a point of criticism or room for improvement, if you will, while I think this is a great boot and I can highly recommend it, it's my personal favorite after all, I definitely think there is room for improvement for the Predator 21.1 if and when that comes. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, first link down below, that's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $225 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.